Welcome back to Lombardi Avenue, your place for Wisconsin sports. And today, guys, the Green Bay Packers are still alive. The Seattle Seahawks go down. But tune in to my podcast where a real fan talks about sports. I'll talk about my personal opinions, my thoughts on my team, the Packers, the Bucks, the Brewers, the Badgers. Most of my podcasts have been about the Green Bay Packers. Of course, we are in the middle of football season. The Milwaukee Bucks probably are the best team in the NBA. Some people may disagree and say Boston, but I think the Milwaukee Bucks are the best team in the NBA. So we will have more content once the Packers season is over. Obviously, the NFL is king in this world of sports. And we are fans of the greatest franchise in the NFL, the Green Bay Packers. The most championships in the NFL. The Lombardi Trophy named after our guy. We have the most iconic sports stadium in the NFL. The Green Bay Packers are the best NFL franchise, bar none. Nobody can debate it. People can try. It just will not pan out for them. But check out my podcast, guys. Like I said, I'm a real fan, looking at things in reality, speaking from my heart. I'm not some big-time media person that has to follow specific guidelines. I'm going to speak from the heart, what I feel about my teams, like I said, guys. So tune into the podcast. Check out my YouTube channel as well, Lombardi Avenue. I post videos on there. I post my podcasts on there as well, along with other videos. Follow me on Instagram at, Lombardi Avenue. Check me out there. But guys, what do the Packers have to lose the rest of the season? Absolutely nothing. And by the way, guys, today's drink, it is early in the morning when I'm doing this podcast. So today is just a black coffee. Black coffee because I try to intermittent fast every single day when I can. It is hard to do around Christmas time when you're eating a lot. But so just a black coffee for me today, guys. But what do the Packers honestly have to lose? They really have nothing to lose except their season, but people are already writing the Packers off. Packers are finished. Packers are done. So in reality, the perception is the Packers season is over already, right? In the perception of the media, of other fans of the NFL, the Packers are done. But ask yourself this question, really, what do the Packers have to lose, right? They lose against the Rams, the season's over. They beat the Rams, they lose to the Dolphins, the season's over. They can pretty much lose any game the rest of the season, one game, and their season is probably over, right? Maybe not mathematically if they lose early on here, but the Packers lose, their season is probably over. They're not going to be able to catch other teams, which I talked about in my previous podcast, so check that out. I kind of break down the playoff picture and what needs to happen for the Packers to make the playoffs. And I've come to the conclusion the Packers need to win out, and they need help from a lot of teams ahead of them to lose. A lot of these teams ahead of the Green Bay Packers have some tough games. Seattle played the Niners last night, and they lost. So now Kansas City is next for Seattle. They should go to 7-8 probably pretty easily. 7-8 should be good enough. They can win their last two games. It won't matter. But I think the Seattle Seahawks are trending down. I think the New York Giants are trending down. I think the Detroit Lions are trending up. And I just did some calculations. So right now, the tiebreaker between Green Bay and the Lions, if the Lions win out and if the Lions win 3 games and then lose to the Packers the last game and the Packers win out because they do play Detroit last game of the season, it goes all the way down to the 5th tiebreaker. which right now the Detroit Lions would hold. So we need to hope the New York Jets beat the Lions, or the Bears beat the Lions, or the Panthers beat the Lions. So we really got to hope the Lions lose another game besides the game they're going to lose to Green Bay at the end of the season. But what do the Packers have to lose, right? I mean, the season has gone sideways and bad pretty quickly. The defense has not performed very well. It has been an utter disappointment. I believe they weren't doing so bad, but the big loss that they got this year, guys, was when Rashawn Gary tore his ACL, because he's the pressure. He's the pressure that, we put on the quarterback, and we really haven't gotten pressure. So once we lost him, it was a big blow. And then Campbell was out for like 4 games, I believe. And he's like he's our captain on the defense. And I think it kind of spiraled out of control there without them. We did beat the Cowboys, but we had a really rough schedule. We had to play the Cowboys, the Titans, and the Eagles, in 3 weeks. We came out of that. We're 5-8 right now. And everything's ahead of us. If the Packers can just win out, I think a lot of these teams ahead of us are going to start losing some games. And then we'll see what happens. But the Packers should play like they got nothing to lose. Go out there, try some things. It's going to be interesting on the offensive end. We're going to get Romeo Doubs back. So we're going to have Doubs and Watson basically healthy at the same time, right? Watson's come along, and Doubs was coming along, and now they're going to both be on the field, both rookies. It's going to be good to see, man. I'm really excited to see how they play together. And then I hope the Packers do what I've been trying to say the Packers should have been doing all season. They should be feeding the ball to Jones. They should be feeding the ball to Dillon. They should be working in play action. For whatever reason, the Packers I think they've been getting down early because their defense allows like a first drive touchdown. They've been getting down early, and they're having to battle back, and they can't stick to the game plan. So that's a real big key, I think. I think Green Bay needs to, if they win the toss, they need to get the ball. They need to orchestrate a drive, have LaFleur have like the most perfect 10 to 15 play drive to start the game and get a lead. I think that's what the Packers really need. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what this team can do. Like I said, nobody's counting us to do anything anymore. Everybody's counting us out. The word on the street, what I'm hearing, Packers are done. Packers are toast. The Packers ain't going anywhere. The Packers are going to be a crappy team for the next 10 to 15 years. That's what I'm hearing on the streets. I beg to differ. I think even if the Packers don't make the playoffs this year, they're bound and set up for a perfect setup for next year. Only because a lot of their guys are signed on the defensive side. They have some young wide receivers that now will be in year 2. They need to sign a couple guys. They need to retain guys like Alan Lazard, who's a great blocker and a good possession wide receiver, to go along with Doubs and Christian Watson. Jones and Dillon, bring them back. Rodgers, no. I think if Rodgers comes back, we make one more run at it. But then after that, I think we got to hand the keys off to Jordan Love, because I think Jordan Love is the real deal. And check my other podcast on why I think Jordan Love's the real deal. But, the jury's still out. I think the jury was still out when Rodgers came in, but you have to go by the eyeball test sometimes when they get into real live action in regular season play. And when Jordan Love stepped in against the Eagles, I saw it. It was only one quarter, but I saw it, right? It may not be enough for some people to say, wow, I'm for sure this guy's going to be good. I saw it. I saw it with Rodgers when Favre went down in 2007. The Packers need to retain Jordan Love. And I get it if Rodgers wants to come back. I'm willing as a fan, and I think the fans and I think the team should let him come back for 1 year. It's going to be a hefty $60 million price tag, but if he comes back, you tell him, hey, this is your last season as a Packer. in 2024, we're going with Jordan Love. Make that agreement before the season. That way Rodgers kind of knows, the front office of the Packers know, the fans know, hey, one more run, one more last dance, see what you can do. Basically bringing back almost everybody. A lot of these guys are signed. You know, even if you had to take a big hit in the cap or whatever you had to do with contracts is to make one run at it, I think you should do it with Rodgers. Rodgers is not done. But I think Jordan Love's the real deal too. So you got to find some middle ground here, because if you roll with Rodgers and then he's indecisive, it's like the same game we played with Brett Favre. At some point you got to say, hey dude, you know what? We're handing the keys to the young guy at this point. But we'll give you one more run at it. That way Jordan Love knows as well, you know, I'm riding the pine for one more year and then it's my turn. They need to set up that going into next year. But the Packers really have nothing to lose this year. Go for it. You know, play hard. We got 3 of 4 games at home. We got a tough road game in Miami on Christmas, which is good because we're not playing in Florida in the middle of September. I like that, so I don't think we're going to be in trouble like we do a lot of times when we go to Florida. We usually go during the summer or late summer. So I'm excited to see what the Packers can do. Seattle lost. Now pretty much hope that the Lions lose a game here before we play them at some point. We're going to be Niner fans again next week because they play Washington. So we got to hope for Washington. We got to hope for the Giants to lose some games. And I said this on my other podcast. If we had to root for one of the teams to lose, I think it's the Giants. I think the Giants are kind of tailing right now. So in my mind, the Giants do play Washington this Sunday night. And I think we should root for, I think we should root for Washington, because I believe the Giants are the team that's going to most likely lose 3 games to get us to that, get them to that 8-1, because they did tie with Washington, right? So if they finish 8-1 and the Packers win out, they will finish at 9-8, and they will get the playoff spot. And then after that, guys, we get into the playoffs. Who knows? I wouldn't expect much. You know, we may match up against the Niners, which would be like a horrible matchup for the Packers. But the law of averages is bound to catch up to the 49ers and the Packers rivalry in the playoffs at some point. Could be this year. That would be the best tasting revenge ever. Packers have a horrible season. The Niners are just destroying teams. And in wild card round, 2 versus 7, Packers limping in, beat the 49ers, and destroy their dreams after everything they've done to us in the Rodgers era, being 0-4 in the playoffs. That would be the sweetest revenge ever. The sweetest revenge ever. And at that point, if that happened, that would be my Super Bowl for this year. Honest to God, I would be happy with that. We could go into Philly the next week and just get hammered, and I would still say we took it to the 49ers and we ended their dreams like they've ended our dreams, especially last year. Last year was set up for the Packers to finally go to the Super Bowl, because look what happens, dude. The Rams got in, and I don't even think the Rams were that good, and the Rams got in and won the Super Bowl. That was gift wrap for the Packers last year, all but for a blocked punt in the snowy conditions at Lambeau Field when the Packers defense was controlling and dominating the 49ers. But I digress. That would be the sweetest revenge, and I would be absolutely hysterical and running down the street screaming telling all the 49er fans around where I live to put their flags away. Because as soon as they lose, one thing about 49er fans is as soon as they lose, they take down their flags. They stop wearing their hats. They stop wearing their Niners jerseys. And they go into hiding. And some years when they're horrible and they're losing all their games, they're nowhere to be found. That's a little thing about the 49ers and their bandwagon fans. I see it. The flags come out, and the flags are flying around the Bay Area right now. They are out of the woodworks. They think Super Bowl over here. They think their rookie quarterback will win them a Super Bowl and do it for the first time ever. No rookie quarterback has ever won the Super Bowl. I would want nothing more than to end their season this year. But thanks for tuning into my podcast, guys. The Packers have nothing to lose. So, you know, like I said, they lose to the Rams, it's over. They lose to the Dolphins, it's over. So they can play loose. Nobody's counting them in. Everybody's counting them out. So let's see what the Packers can do. Thanks for tuning in, guys.